Guys, you're gonna have to bear with me in this video because I don't know if you can tell, but I have a banging headache and my voice sounds like a mess. And that's because I've been playing on PS4 since the morning. It's like I've been playing on PS4 since 12 in the morning, and right now it's 8 o'clock. And just a quick life lesson, or just a quick life tip: don't play on consoles for too long because they are really bad for you. Like, staying in front of a screen and clicking buttons for hours is not good for you. Despite the fact I'm still probably going to do this again tomorrow, it's still really bad. Well, you can still play it, but make sure you play it in moderation and, go outside and smell some fresh air, or just go for a walk or something, because playing PS4 from the morning till the night is not good. But apart from that, in this video I will be talking about if the One Punch Man webcomic is bad. Well, first of all, before we actually start this video, make sure you leave a like on the video, because apparently that's what YouTube likes. And if you don't leave a like on the video, then YouTube won't recommend this video to, other people who maybe want to know if they should read the One Punch Man webcomic. But apart from that, let's start with one of the reasons I feel like a lot of people don't want to read the One Punch Man webcomic, which is the art style. Personally, do I prefer the manga's art style to the webcomic? Yes, obviously. I'm pretty sure everyone who has read the One Punch Man webcomic and manga can definitely say with confidence that the One Punch Man webcomic's art is not as good as the manga's art. Well, that's because Murata is probably one of the best illustrators in all of manga history, in my opinion. Because Murata, I feel like his art can be very simple but can also be incredibly detailed, and probably one of the best things I've ever seen, like ever, period. But I feel like the art for the webcomic as well, it's not the best. It's definitely not the best, but I feel like it shouldn't really stop you from reading the webcomic, in my opinion. I feel like even though the webcomic's art is not the best, it shouldn't be a factor that you should take too much into account when, gauging whether you should read the webcomic or not. And I feel like the webcomic overall, I don't think gets carried by the art, obviously, because the art is not very good at all. And I can admit that, I can admit that the webcomic art is not necessarily good, but I feel like the story itself is what makes One Punch Man good. I feel like the reason Murata decided to pick up One Punch Man and become its illustrator is because he saw potential in the story. And obviously we can all see now One Punch Man is very popular, and that's because of its story and its interesting twist on, the hero genre. Now, I feel like the webcomic, when it comes to story, I feel like the story and obviously the manga and the webcomic in terms of story are one-to-one. The manga and the webcomic both cover the exact same thing. And of course, there are differences in terms of, what Murata decides to do and what one decides to do. Well, it's not necessarily too different, but there are a few differences here and there. For example, in the webcomic, Phoenix Man versus Child Emperor was not the same as in the manga. There was a stark difference, because in the webcomic, Child Emperor versus Phoenix Man ended fairly quickly. Like, Phoenix Man did not, turn into this crazy monster that was a dragon level threat and was approaching god level. But in the webcomic, he was pretty much just, standard demon level monster. But in the manga, he was something else. And I have a video coming up on Phoenix Man, and that video is probably going to be one of my favorites, because he is going up against someone that I feel like a lot of people might feel like it's an unfair fight, but I feel like he could win that fight. But until that video drops, we won't speak about that, right now, because obviously we're talking about the webcomic. Now, the webcomic, in my opinion, I feel like is still very good, despite, the art being bad and overall it not being as good as the manga in many people's eyes. Now, obviously the webcomic is ahead of, the manga, which I guess could be a plus in many people's eyes, because I know a lot of people like being up to date when it comes to One Punch Man, and they want to be up with the latest stuff, and that goes for me as well. The reason I read the webcomic is because I want to be, up to date with everything to do with One Punch Man. And I feel like if someone's like a really hardcore One Punch Man fan, they would read the webcomic, despite the art being not as good as the manga, and some, may even say bad. But I feel like if you want to be up to date with the latest stuff to do with One Punch Man, then obviously the webcomic is definitely a good choice for you. But I feel like finally, in terms of how frequent the chapters come out for the webcomic, I feel like the chapters for the webcomic do come out a lot less than the manga. and that says a lot because the manga does not release chapters consistently. Obviously recently Murata has been releasing chapters fairly frequently, which is very good for the One Punch Man manga, and the manga is slowly catching up with the webcomic because right now the webcomic hasn't released a chapter in nearly a month, I'm pretty sure. But the webcomic, I feel like, will still always be ahead of the manga, but I feel like in terms of how quickly chapters release or how frequently chapters release, the manga definitely releases chapters a lot more than the webcomic, despite the webcomic being ahead. And I feel like the webcomic, when releasing chapters, I feel like one releases chapters in like a dump. He releases like 5 chapters back to back to back, but the manga, the manga can release a chapter once every 2 weeks or maybe once every month, which I know it doesn't happen anymore, but it used to happen a lot. Even sometimes every 3 months the manga would release a chapter, and the manga back then was not very consistent. And I feel like if you want consistency, then for now you should stick with the manga. But if you want to be ahead when it comes to One Punch Man, then of course you should read the webcomic. Now, overall, do I think the webcomic is bad? Of course not. Like, the webcomic in terms of story, as I said before, is 1-to-1 with the manga. You are not missing anything. If the sole reason you read One Punch Man is because of the art, then of course you should just stick with the manga, because the art in the webcomic is not as good as the manga, period. Like, no one can dispute that. But if you want to be ahead or stay up to date with everything to do with One Punch Man, as I said before, then definitely read the webcomic. That's pretty much my final verdict when it comes to what you should read and if the webcomic is bad. As I've already said, the webcomic isn't bad, but if you want to stick with the manga, you can also stick with the manga. But if you want to keep up to date and be ahead with One Punch Man, then read the webcomic. And I keep repeating this because I know a lot of people tend to just skip over what I say, but if you want to be ahead with One Punch Man, then read the webcomic. I've said this like 10 times already in the video. This is the main reason why I read the webcomic and a lot of people read the webcomic. The story is not different. Like, the characters aren't different either. The characters are the same, nothing changes. There might be a few differences in the manga because of retcons and all that jazz, but overall they are pretty much the same in terms of story and plot and in terms of characters and everything. The only difference is the art. That is the only difference between the webcomic and the manga. And in terms of if the webcomic art is bad, I would say it's definitely not good. I wouldn't say it's terrible, because I feel like in general the webcomic art definitely fits the tone of One Punch Man, because One Punch Man overall, like as a series, it's definitely a very dumb series and it's very nonchalant. So I feel like one's art definitely fits the tone of One Punch Man, which of course is very good in terms of trying to portray characters sometimes. Like when Saitama makes stupid faces, I feel like it's best in the webcomic because the webcomic art is so bad that it kind of makes everything so much more funny, especially when it's trying to be funny. But in the manga, of course, it's very funny as well. Even in the anime it's funny, but I feel like in terms of comedy, the webcomic does it best due to the art, of course. I feel like the art definitely complements Saitama a lot more, because Saitama's face in the webcomic just it's the funniest thing ever. And I feel like in general the webcomic art is definitely not good, but I feel like it definitely is good in certain moments. And overall, you should read the webcomic. That's pretty much my final verdict. Is the webcomic bad? No. Should you read the webcomic? Yes. If you only read One Punch Man for the art, do I suggest you read the webcomic? No. That's pretty much my final verdict. And this video may seem all over the place, but this video is unscripted after all, and I was just pretty much just telling you my thoughts on the webcomic and if you should read it or not. But apart from that, that's pretty much it for this video. This video might be a lot longer than to repeat a lot of stuff, because I know people just kind of ignore things sometimes. So, sometimes you have to repeat a lot of things just to get into some people's heads. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. And if you like the video, make sure you leave and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And apart from that, I will see you in my next video. And of course, share the video, because if you do, then, I'll give you a big wet kiss. But yeah, I'm serious. I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.